The Sitka School Board acknowledges that our schools are located on the ancestral homelands of the Tlingit people who have lived in Sitka since time immemorial. We express our deepest respect and gratitude for our Indigenous neighbors, the Tlingit, for their enduring care and protection of Tlingit Ani. Donna, if we can do a roll call, please.
Paul Ryu.
Here.
Amy Morrison.
Here.
Andrew Hames. Absent. Blossom Teal Olson.
Here.
Todd Gebler.
Here.
The meeting is quorumed, and Andrew will be joining us in a little bit. All right, and if we can get a motion for the proposed agenda and consent agenda.
I move to approve the agenda and the consent agenda as proposed.
Second.
Is there any public comment to the motion? Any board comment? Were there any financial components in that? Do we need to do a roll call vote?
With the executive session, do we need, no?
No.
No? Okay, then no.
All right, is there any opposition to the motion? Seeing none, motion passes. All right, so moving on to item 5, special reports. Do we have anyone tonight for government to government?
Good evening, Rebecca Himshoot with the Assembly. Happy to see all of you and hoping that other Assembly members will take advantage of the tour offered to them on November 17th. And I didn't know that last meeting was my chance to do it, so I'm going to take the opportunity now to recognize Eric Van Cise. I now know from personal experience how challenging it is to be on that side of the table, and I thought that Eric always led with compassion and knowledge. He went out and learned about things and came back and was prepared to make good decisions. So I really admired that and count him as one of my mentors as I work on the other side of this table sometimes too. And then I also wanted to recognize Ian Crane, and I know you guys will get around to all of that. And so this isn't really government to government, but I don't know that I'll come back up. So I just want to remind Ian, as he leaves us, about a staff member who used to make passwords that were something to the effect of Ian eats worms or Ian is the worst. And so then whenever support was needed, Ian knew exactly which staff member that was. So he did his job well and with a sense of humor. So anyway, thank you, and I hope you'll see a bunch of Assembly members on the 17th.
Thank you, Ms. Himshoot. Any other government to government reports tonight? I don't think, all right. All right, so moving on to recognitions. I see a lot of students in the room for the cross country. We are recognizing the girls team Division II Region 5 champions and the boys team Division II Region 5 champion state runner-up. Is that correct? Did I say that right? Okay, all right. So if the cross country team wants to come on up here, we'll do a little recognition. This is our mobile microphone for the night. Sorry, we couldn't get our other one to work. So, we're just kind of going to pass the mic down, and if you can just say your name and what grade you are, and maybe just a highlight of the meet. It was a couple weeks ago in Anchorage, correct? And yeah, just give us a little information about it.
Hi, my name is Annan Weiland. I'm in 10th grade, and I really enjoyed hanging out with the team during the entire trip.
All right, I'm Tawny Smith. I'm a senior on the team. I really liked the night before state. We all watched Cars and Talladega Nights. Whew, we are speed.
I'm Connor Hitchcock. I'm in 9th grade, and I really appreciate all the support my teammates gave me when I was racing.
I'm Hank Maxwell. I'm a junior, and it was pretty cold and wet when we ran.
I'm Asa Dow. I'm a senior, and my favorite part was probably, so the race was pretty brutal and rain and mud, and everybody pushed it really hard. And after the race, everyone was super happy, and just that like kind of feeling of like we're done, and we all like tried our hardest and really put it all out there. That was really good.
I'm Silas Demmer. I'm a junior, and I just really like watching my teammates run.
I'm Trey Demmer, and I'm a freshman, and it was just very fun to bond with the team on that trip.
I'm Anna Prussian. I'm a junior, and I really liked the car ride to the race because the entire team was getting really hyped up.
I'm Shasta Smith. I'm the head coach. I don't necessarily want to talk about that race specifically, but just the season in general. These kids just rolled with everything. I don't know if any of you knew about what happened at Regions, but we were supposed to go to Ketchikan, and there was weather issues, and then we were supposed to go the next day, and there was more weather issues, and then we were supposed to race on Sunday, and we didn't. We ended up racing on Monday, and they all just, okay, coach, the whole time, no complaining, just ready to go. And of course, they did fantastic on Monday in the sunshine in front of friends and family, so it was really awesome.
My name's Claire Mullen. I'm a freshman this year, and I really enjoyed watching everybody run, cheering on my teammates, and watching them improve.
Hello, I'm Jeremy Strong. I'm the assistant coach, and probably my favorite memory, or just thinking back at the season, is watching this group grow together and watching how far they came from the beginning to the end. It's pretty spectacular.
I'm Colton Ewers. I'm a senior, and my favorite part of the season was definitely Red Robin after the state meet. It was amazing.
Well, we just want to take an opportunity to celebrate and recognize your accomplishment. Please stay where you're at. I'm going to hand out the certificates, and we're going to get a picture. So, parents, if you want to come up and take some pictures, you know you can. We'll see. I had it. All right, let's give these picture. Count three. 1, 2, 3. Big smiles with your eyes. 1, 2, 3. All right. How about another round of applause?
Thanks for coming out tonight, you guys, especially on a Monday. I don't like having meetings on Mondays. We won't do this again. Sorry. Just so you know, we had to do it because the board's leaving on Wednesday to go up to Anchorage for the AASB conference, so that's why. So next we have Eric Van Sice, if you want to come on up, and Mike Vieira has something to present to you. We just want to recognize Eric in his 6 years of serving on the school board, which, as Rebecca said, is a huge, huge task. And that's a unbelievable amount of time. So we just appreciate everything that you've done for the school.
And Eric, I don't speak for everyone, but I think on behalf of the staff, we just want to say thank you for all your time. 2 terms, 6 years. It's a long time. It's a lot of meetings. I had the pleasure to work with you as a parent. I think our relationship started when I was the athletic director and Eric was my soccer coach. And then as a board member, and in every one of those roles, I've just come to really respect the way that you have approached it. And then as a staff member, the thing that we just really appreciated that you always were willing to listen to staff, and you always were looking for the input of staff voice. And you didn't always agree and think that we were right, which is okay too. But you always were willing to listen and seek that, and we really valued it. And we just really appreciate all the time that you put in. So this is a design that Charlie Skolka and I worked on together. Charlie provided the design, and I provided the CNC manufacturing expertise. And we've got the Sitka School District logo on there, and we had a bunch of staff sign it. So that's a token of our appreciation and to say thank you for your time as a board member. So thanks, Eric.
Okay. No, and I'm taking my mask off so you can hear me a little better, if that's all right. But I'm really, really touched with this. This is awesome. So, a little back history. My dad was born and raised on the McCaw Indian Reservation in Nia Bay, and coastal Indian. We weren't native, but these were around a lot, but not in our house. But now there is one in our house. So, but thank you for everything. I want to thank my wife Leah and sons Tristan and Leif for their support over the years, and it's been really, really good. No regrets. We have excellent staff. We have a great community, and we have a great board. And so, given things that are going on today, I think this town and our school, we're moving in the right direction. You look at the next generation coming up. It's just amazing. So, but thanks to everything, and Mike, thank you. Just a real quick story with Mike and I when I applied for the soccer coach, I was kind of nervous about it, wasn't sure, and I went in for the interview, and first time really meeting Mike, and went through the process, and I said, well, I'm sure you have other people you need to interview. Just kind of let me know. And he says, well, you're it. You're the only one who applied. So it was an easy start, and it was a great start. So thank you so much, everybody, for this. This really means a lot to myself and my family. So keep doing what you're doing. You're doing great.
I guess we're all just taking our mics to go tonight. Let's see. Ian, would you come up here, please? I know it. You can sit on the stand. You can stand up here. Come stand up here. Over the past 3 years, I've had the honor of working with Ian and needing his help a few times, and he is an extremely dynamic individual. I think that I can't even think of a better way to describe it. Ian's been with the district for 11 years, and the last couple of years have been tough on all of us, but you were really the bottleneck when it came a couple of years ago to getting the technology launched. And Ian worked tirelessly over the summer, putting in a ton of hours, and he just really got it done. Lots of people had to pitch in, but you were right there where we needed you to be. So couple other things that really stand out about Ian is that Ian didn't even just approach it with keep this technology working. He always had plans for what worked best for the staff and even budget planning. He would be like, hey, I think I've got this great idea to work. You just took it to a fantastic level, and you set a great example. So we appreciate everything you've done and wish you best of luck in your future ventures. And of course, you're welcome back anytime, like tomorrow. Do you want to say anything?
Well, I just want to thank the district a lot because although a lot of you probably won't remember because I don't think anyone from the original hiring committee was here, I was very thankful for the district for hiring me because I was very young at the time. I think I was like 26 years old, and there were a lot of nervous people in that room. But they gave me a chance, and I appreciated it, and it's been kind of a long and fun relationship ever since then, sort of just kind of growing and evolving together, and it was hopefully beneficial for the district and myself, and I've enjoyed every minute of it.
Thank you so much. Can we give him a round of applause?
That makes for a great picture. How about another round of applause?
Well, here's what happens on Monday nights when you have a meeting. I have a plaque for Eric sitting on my desk here that I forgot to give to you, Eric. So come back up. Sorry about that. And I have to say too, the reason we were late getting started for a meeting was my laptop wasn't working, and Ian is officially not an employee anymore, and he's still running up trying to fix my computer for me, so thank you, Ian. All right, so item 7, persons to be heard. Let me get my stuff together. Persons to be heard is an opportunity for members of the public to speak to the board about a topic that is not on the agenda. As these are not agenda items, no board deliberation or action will occur in response. Questions for clarification may be posed by board members. The board may choose to refer items to the superintendent or designee for further action. The standard time limit for comments will be 3 minutes unless otherwise stated by the board president with consent of the board. A sound will indicate when time expires. All comments must be respectful, and charges or complaints against specific employees are not permitted per Alaska state statute. Members of the public are referred to board policies 1312, 1312.1, 1312.2, and 1312.3, and associated administrative regulations, as well as to Board Bylaw 9323 for information on how to lodge complaints. Speakers are also asked to please state their full name for the record prior to speaking. Do we have any persons to be heard tonight? And I am going to actually set my timer here, so. Go ahead.
Good evening, Mike Vieira, teacher at Sitka High School, also presiding as the president of the Sitka Education Association this year. I just wanted to hop on the Ian train, and Ian, on behalf of, are you still here? There you go. On behalf of staff, just wanted to say thank you for your time. You started just a little bit after I did, and technology in our district was at a very different place than it is now, and not a pleasant place. And you've come in and brought us to a place where things function, and we're able to think about what's next instead of just how to survive. And I think the relationship between a one-man IT department in a school district and teaching staff is oftentimes a love-hate relationship, because we want things and we want it now, and he has 110 people that want that at the same time. But you always did it with grace, and you put up with teachers who, I always say, teachers are the best and teachers are the worst, and you put up with the best and the worst of us. With me, I have weird technology. It's like, hey, can you make this one computer, make this one machine, cut this one thing? And it had nothing to do with what you were doing with the rest of the district. You always made it work for me, and that was your attitude with everyone else. So I had every intention to have a paddle here for you today, too, but you need to give me a little bit more warning when you send your letter of resignation. So next time, a little bit more warning. We'll have one coming for you. But, Ian, just wanted to say thank you for moving our district forward and being so flexible and accommodating for teachers. We appreciate you, and we wish you the best of luck in your future endeavors.
Beth Short Roads, and I just wanted to say we're 2 months into the school year now, and I am so thankful that kids are in school. Like a lot of kids in the district, my daughter has had a hard time the last couple of years, and she is so happy to be back in school. And I know that it has taken a lot of work from staff and administration at every level, and I'm just so grateful for all the hard work that's been put in, and to the school board as well. I feel like it's been a very balanced approach to in regard to the mitigations, and so I just really appreciate that those were so thoughtfully put together, and that they have been followed, and that kids are still in school. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Can you just push the button on the, thank you.
Good evening, KK Pression, resident and parent of 2 kids in the school district, and I just wanted to resonate with similar message you just heard. I just want to say thanks to you guys for really doing the right thing with this pandemic we're all living through right now. I'm excited my kids are in school. They're learning with a full day of school. They've got their activities that are keeping them engaged in relationships with their friends and keeping them active physically and mentally. And I'll just say, one of my daughters was up here just a few minutes ago. It was quite stressful getting closer to the state meet, because a lot of people have tested positive in this community, and for various reasons, whether it's non-vaccination or lack of mask or just unfortunate events, people have tested positive. And I think by us wearing masks, we've enabled to keep it to a level. And I will just say I feel very fortunate that my daughter was able to stay not positive and be able to go compete in a state meet. And I think the mask mandate that we are all following or we have in front of us has really helped that. And I think that I just encourage you to stay the course, keep these kids in school, keep the activities going, and allow them to do what they enjoy. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Do we have any other persons to be heard tonight? No? All right. All right, moving on to school highlights, and we are going to start with Mr. White because I know he has to scoot out of here. So we're just going to jumble it all up tonight.
Good evening, everybody. I'll put that right there. Okay, so for Blatchley highlights, we've got a couple. One of them was we just on Thursday, kind of to go along with what Beth and KK said, and having school be as typical as possible. All the kids wanted to wear their costumes at school, so we said, okay, yeah, wear your costumes. Which I think the staff is kind of like, whatever, wear them, don't. But what we all appreciated pretty quickly was how much the kids enjoyed that, and I think it's easy to lose sight of how important little things like that are to our students. They had a blast. Miss Rogers coordinated a Halloween costume parade, and everyone got to vote on who each kid in each group, one kid in each grade level got a prize for the best costume. And so when we walked in the gym at recess, where those who wanted to be in the parade were at, it was pretty funny. They were dancing and showing off their costumes and just having a blast. So that was great to see and great to be able to offer that, which we would not be able to offer that if we weren't in school. Another thing that we're really looking forward to is we're going to have our Jamboree, which is kind of our big sporting event at Blatchley, the weekend of November 13th to the 15th. Right now we're pledging on Ketchikan cake and perhaps Gus Davis coming. We're also going to have a spirit week with that, with the dress-up days and all that kind of stuff, which the kids are already looking forward to. Not having had that in the last year, those kids who have had it before know what they missed, and so there's a lot of energy and excitement at the school for that. So we're looking forward to that. Another highlight is this year we are planning in February of having DYP. We had to skip that last year, so people are getting, the kids are getting very excited about that. You'll hear more about that as we start to reach out to kind of our community partners and plan those unique events. And we will actually do a little presentation at one of the board meetings kind of explaining what DYP is and why we do it and what, kind of the students get out of that, because not all the board members may be familiar with that. Finally, my last highlight is a couple times a year, I call all the parents of all the students who have a kid who's just in general doing a good job. Kids who go where they need to go, do what they need to do. And I just pick a grade and I try to work my way through it that week and go grade by grade. And I did the 8th grade, I think it was 8th grade, this last week. And what occurred to me is there were like 65 phone calls home out of like 84 families. And that's not to say that the other kids didn't deserve a phone call, but the kids that we try to call home on are the kids who almost fly under the radar. They're not flamboyant. They're not demanding of time. They're just kids who are always doing what they should. And it occurred to me that that's more than 75% of the class. And it's just great to be in a place where we can do that sort of thing and call the families, and they appreciate it. And I always tell the families, man, I appreciate it more than you. Trust me. Thanks for allowing me to make this call. Any questions? All right, thank you. Like Amy said, I've got to run. Have a good evening.
Thank you so much. Let's do Sandra, because I'm looking at you.
Hello. How are you guys? So we are very busy. We have had our first round of parent-teacher conferences on Thursday evening of last week, and those were in person and were very popular. And we didn't even realize until we got through it and parents were in the building that our sophomore parents had never been in our building. So those were very popular. All the time slots filled up really quickly, and it was really nice. It went very well. We have our next round is Wednesday night, and then we have conferences on Thursday as well. So those have been a real hit. We had music, went to Southeast Honor Festival in Ketchikan, and we're about to send quite a few students up to All-State Music in Anchorage. We just recognized our cross-country team for the great job that they did this year. Our swimmers were at Regions this past weekend and are going to state this weekend. We had volleyball going on all weekend long. CNJV finished up, and then tomorrow night we're hosting the region volleyball. The first game is tomorrow night at Sitka, and then Wednesday night we'll be over at Edgecombe. Our wrestlers are going to Anchorage this weekend to wrestle at ACS. Our DDF team is going to Thunder Mountain to compete. We've got a lot going on. We have incorporated a Ha-Lat-Scene Student of the Week, and so we've announced our first two students. Emily Blackman and Elijah Coleman were our first two students named, and we'll be naming students every single week for being engaged, compassionate, and responsible, and exhibiting the strength of mind, body, and spirit. Any questions? Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Super exciting just to hear about kids traveling again. It's amazing how normal that feels. So, let's see, Mandy. Did I see? Yeah, Mandy.
Still on. Hello. I think one of my new highlights is coming to these meetings and seeing what Blossom's hair is going to look like. It's been different each time. I'm also with you, Amy. When I pulled into my driveway at 5:45, my alarm on my phone went off and said I should be actually here right now. So it's odd having these on a Monday, jotting down some highlights. It's been busy at Pacific High as well. We have 43 students right now, so the building is pretty full. We welcomed a new AmeriCorps member on staff today. This is the other AmeriCorps that was funded by the additional funding from the city, and so this is our AmeriCorps who will focus on social-emotional support for students. We have had Ellie Veer all school year, and she's doing academic support in the classroom. And now we have David Lister, who came all the way from New Jersey to spend some time in Sitka and do some social-emotional support for students in Sitka. So it was fun welcoming him today and having the kids ask him, all the crazy questions that they can ask someone from a far-off place. We have kids cooking again in the kitchen. This is a big highlight for us. Gosh, for the last almost year and a half, we've been putting meals in to-go boxes and giving them to students that way. And the kitchen's a little bit too small to have students in the kitchen with past COVID restrictions. But now with the 3 feet of distancing, we're able to have students back in the kitchen and cooking lunches for us. And so that, makes our cook Spence very happy to have some company up there. It's just really great to have students excited in the kitchen about what they're making and wanting to put together menus for holiday meals, for example, for the student body. And so that's something that's very nice to get back to, is having students in the kitchen, because it's just such a cornerstone of our program, really. So, and the food is great. We have some good cooks in there. They're all seniors who need some of that technical education credit for graduation, and so we've got a solid bunch of students who it seems like they've done some cooking before this class, so that's nice as well. Let's see, we submitted another grant for the garden last week. It's a quick turnaround. This one is offered through Rural Cap, and it's for communities in rural Alaska to expand garden areas. And this funding, it would be $20,000 of funding to do the excavation work that we need to get that greenhouse put up that we purchased, a year and a half ago at this point. So keep your fingers crossed for that. We should know by the end of the week if we are recipients of it, and if so, then we can get started if the ground isn't too frozen for an excavator to go through it. So be thinking good thoughts about that. Hiring process is underway for the school gardener position that is funded through the Farm to School grant. I mentioned that in one of my previous times here. That is specifically for someone to manage the garden and facilitate activities for teachers. And so I'm hoping that the next time that I come in front of you, then I'll be able to introduce that person to you who may be working in our school garden. Last week, Pacific High teaching staff, myself and our special education teacher, we participated in a two-day expeditionary learning conference. This is something that we paid for through our school improvement funding for professional development for staff. It was the first time in about 8 years that all of our staff have been able to participate in professional development experience that is really what our educational model was founded on, or built upon, I will say. Maybe not founded on 25 years ago, but it is the model that we have tried to emulate as much as we can. We're a small school, so we can't be in the network of expeditionary learning schools because there's a cost associated with that, and it's difficult for their trainers, of course, to come to Alaska, and there's an expense associated with that. So, but this was the first time that we could get together and really revisit our model and talk about how we want to refine it, make it more project-based, make it more expeditionary for students, and really start to get some more consistency within each of the classrooms so that students know what to expect, and it will just make their education that much easier for them to access the content of it. And so just kudos to our support staff. What we ended up doing, because the conference, it was East Coast time, so it started at 7 o'clock in the morning and went till 1 in the afternoon for us, but for them it was 11 to 5 or something like that, and so it was pretty early morning for staff. But we had our AmeriCorps, our youth advocate support staff, Ramon, our school social worker. They accompanied the students to the movie theater, and they watched a really, really long Dune movie. I was told that it was so long, and it was really good by some, and for others, but it was a good community building activity for students. And then in the afternoons, again, while teachers were working on this conference, students were able to work on schoolwork and finish up the academic session that we just completed. And so we're into our second academic quarter. We have our first camping trip coming up, again, first time we've been able to do this in a year and a half. And this is the camping trip that comes after our first academic session, fits into our multi-tiered system of support program. And this is really for students who finished up their classes in the first quarter on time, did some high-quality work, and so November 15th and 16th, we'll have a group of students and some staff headed out to Samsung Cabin for our first camping trip of the year. So, any questions? Okay, I look forward to that here next month, Lassa. Thank you.
Thanks, Mandy. Jill, would you like to go next?
Good evening. How's everyone? Good. All right. So the first and most exciting thing is we survived the day after Halloween with like 5, 6, and 7-year-olds with not too many problems. Not too many problems. Right, exactly. So, we always have wonderful things happening at Baranoff. Let's go back to some normalcy. We had an all-school pajama party on Thursday. We didn't do costumes because they kind of are a little bit much for our kids, but we did do a pajama party. We had a lot of, even though they're not pajamas, they kind of start crossing the line of the onesies, unicorns, and it was a lot of fun, like everybody else said, seeing kids coming back to that normal environment of school. I mean, we're still masked and following the COVID guidelines, but seeing them back in school happy is great. I think one of the best things that happened in October, we had our October family meeting, and we actually had 2 sessions, a day session and a night session. And we had over 25 people attend the sessions. And one of the biggest requests, I guess, that came out of it is they really want to be in the schools volunteering. You know, kind of like Sandra said, some of the parents in our building will have gone through Baranoff and never have been inside our schools. So, you know, our staff has put some thought into how to get some volunteers into, well, not really into, but at our building. And so we are going to have some playground volunteers. And so our families spent about an hour training with our staff to then come out and help on our playground. And I know it's not in the classrooms or in our building like they usually help out, but families were so excited to at least start volunteering in that capacity. And it was really exciting that staff put together a training video. I thought they were going to have to play all the games that we teach the staff, like switch, red light, green light. Do you guys remember that from childhood? I thought we were going to have to play it, but no, they put together videos with all the kids playing them. We went over confidentiality, all that kind of good stuff. So families were really excited to have that option. So that was really exciting. That's about it. We've been busy being normal down at Baranoff. Any questions or wonderings? No? That's it.
Thank you very much. Wish I could have been a part of that pajama party. Maybe next year. And Casey.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome, Todd. Last Thursday, we had a little Halloween party, lots of parties throughout the building, and costumes, fun to see the kids in costumes, but I think I had a number of staff that were a lot more into the costumes and partying than the kids were, but they really made it fun for the students. We just finished our fundraiser, and so each classroom is able to sell items and earn money for their classroom, and that money can go towards curriculum, snacks, whatever the teachers need as kind of a little extra outside of our school budget that teachers can use for their students. Girls on the Run is in full swing, so we're having practices 4 days a week after school. The teams are pretty close to full, so I think we have around 25 girls participating in that right now, with a 5K happening in early December. And so if anybody wants to start training to be a running partner, that would be fantastic. Our spirit gear came in on Friday, and so that got distributed to students, and so it's fun to see them wearing Keats sweatshirts and T-shirts, and proud to kind of have that gear on this week. Parent-teacher conferences is happening, and we've offering both in-person and a virtual option for parents, and so I anticipate, we usually have around 95% participation with our families, and so I would think we'll be right around that again this year. And I want to mention, I don't think I've mentioned our fresh fruit and veggies snacks that we have, and we kind of work with Market Center each week, and so all of our students are provided fresh fruits and vegetables for their morning snack each day. It's a pretty neat program, and Leslie Young is pretty instrumental in kind of helping get that in place for us the last couple of years. Elks donated a number of snacks, and those were delivered here recently and distributed to the classroom, so we appreciate the partnership with them and the various donations that they give us. Lastly, I just kind of wanted to mention a couple things. First off, for Eric, I just really appreciate his work on the board, and felt like he was always not only an advocate for the students but also for staff, and just appreciate the time that he put in, always willing to listen. And then Ian, he just did a phenomenal job for us the last 11 years, and that guy was always in a hurry, but always took the time to help, anyone, whenever, and was always patient, no matter what the task was or how busy he was. So, any questions? All right, thanks.
Right, thank you very much. All right, so we are on item 9, reports and presentations, and Doug Osborne has a report for us tonight on the Sitka Health Summit Planning Day. Hi, Doug.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I got a short slideshow, and it's going to pop up here. And my name is Doug, and I work as a health educator at Search, and I'm part of this Health Summit Coalition. And we had our big planning day on September the 23rd. We picked 2 goals. One is very connected to the schools, and the other one, there may be some connection. So as I go through this, I'm going to ask everybody to kind of think about, for them as an individual and then as a role in the school district, where the connections could be. So, let's see here. If I hit this once, it's going to work. Chris, do you want to advance the slides for me? It goes super quick. Hey, it's working. There's our coalition. And it's people from different organizations in town, started in 2006. And because we have so many supporters, we're able to do our big annual event, which is this planning day. And the planning day has happened 13 times. The last one was on September 23rd. And basically what happens is we get a diverse group of people together. We brainstorm ideas, evaluate, and then they pick 2 health-enhancing goals. And then we spend the afternoon trying to give them a good start. And then after that, we start sharing with the community. And this started the day after on Raven Radio, and it ends here tonight at the school district. So we want everybody to know what the goals are, what the benefits to our town are, and then how they can get involved if they choose. This started in 2006 when the administrators from the 2 hospitals came together, and they said, how could we work together to benefit our community? And that's when we developed this question that we've been answering now since then, which is, what inspiring wellness initiative deserves Sitka's attention in the next 365 days? A lot of the answers have really connected with student health in and out of school. So for example, being a more bikeable community, being more walkable, the ADA accessible playground, which kids from Wuching Preschool probably enjoyed today. The Choose Respect mural that was hung a year to the day that it was selected as a goal, and so that picture on the bottom left is the whole student body with the then Mayor McConnell and Ellen Frankenstein admiring. And if you see carefully, you could see the word choose in there. The award-winning Fish to Schools project that got fish first into Keat and then into other schools. And then last one in 2018, and this is something that I wanted to thank Amy Morrison for supporting, and Laura Rogers and Pacific High School Youth Advocates, was this Cloud. It's a teen center, and it's free, and they can drop in, and it's right across the street there by the yellow jersey. So that's a little bit of examples of some goals past, but what about this year? So in August, we started to do some community brainstorming, and we put out a call for ideas. We got over 100 ideas. And then we gathered a group of 40 local people together, and we brainstormed. And we went from hundreds of ideas to 80, to 40, to 11, to 4, and then finally to 2. So it's a whole day of prioritizing. And so what we told the planners was to pick something that was ambitious and doable, and something that this felt like the right time. And so what are the 2 goals? The first one is to get a shelter for everyone in town, to end homelessness. And there's a 12-cabin neighborhood that's been proposed for locals who are experiencing homelessness. It's on the top of Jarvis Street, and it's really neat because it's owned by the Alaska Mental Health Trust. And they said, if we see a lot of community support, we can make something like this happen. This is a diagram of what this group, the Sitka Homeless Coalition, has been envisioning, and they've been working on this for 4 years. There's a really good Raven Radio show that talks about the Homeless Coalition, and you hear a story of somebody in our town who had a lot of circumstances and they ended up being homeless. And so you hear that story and you hear caring ladies like Hannah and Gail that you see here and how they're trying to help out. But really the key for dealing with homelessness is housing first. That's the model. On the bottom right, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, that's who our coalition is connected with. They have a library of probably 300 or 400 strategies, and it has evidence rankings, everything from doesn't work to works and is the highest level of proof. Housing first is the highest level of proof, and these are some of the benefits. Of course, you reduce homelessness, increase housing stability, you reduce hospital utilization. That's what they found in Juneau. Juneau has 64 units. This one opened a few years ago, Forget-Me-Not Manor, 32 single occupancy units. That looks very nice. And once people have the housing in place, once there's some stability, some magic starts to happen. And so we're excited to see if this can happen here. I think it can. We have a group that's meeting. And the thing they're inviting everybody to think about is this one. What would it be like to go to sleep on a very cold, windy Sitka night knowing that all your neighbors are in a warm and dry place? That's what that first goal is. Let's get everyone shelter. The second goal that the planners chose was to revive a sustainable community schools program that benefits youth and adults. I was not surprised when I looked at the definition of a community school. It's a place in the school, but it's also this set of partnerships, and it has this integrated focus that helps the young people, helps the students with academics, with health, social services. What did surprise me when I looked at the evidence rating for that is you could see the very top benefits are academic related. Increased academic achievement, improved student attendance. Some of the other potential outcomes, and there's community school programs all over the country in little towns and big towns, so this is a common thing. We had a stellar one here that was based in Blatchley, and a lot of people probably remember hearing some of these. So increased high school completion rates, improved youth behavior, increase access to services because of those partnerships, more social capital, more parent engagement, more community involvement. And then on top of it, because of the pandemic, in addition to all those benefits, and in addition to helping kids, which is always first and foremost, I think we're an opportunity to help some parents. The pandemic has been hard for many a parent. And so I just have this image of a parent and a kid going to Blatchley and signing up for a camp or a class or something, and the kid's thrilled to go there and the parents thrilled to have them go there. And so this is the key question we're asking everybody to think about now. What would it be like if we had a thriving, sustainable community schools program in Sitka? And one of the neat things about this is we don't just have to imagine like we do at the homeless shelter. We can access our memory banks because we had one. And I asked somebody who was at our planning day, Carrie Sagal, who's here today, I said, what was the impact? She was a librarian at Blatchley. I said, what was it like? And this is what she said. I'm very excited about the goal to revitalize community schools. It directly addresses some of the trauma and losses our children have experienced during COVID. I remember the days when community schools was well funded. We met the recreational needs of all the children, but it was the homeless and home troubled children we served best. Blatchley Middle School became their second home. We'd have to kick them out and shut the doors at 10. I have no doubt that community schools saved lives. And Carrie's part of this really excellent crew that did a kickoff party about a week and a half ago. So Andrew Frisky is at Mount Edgecombe, was at contact for this, Melissa Henshaw with the city, Carrie Sagal with the district, and Jessica Christensen, who's both on our coalition and part of the district, and then Sarah, who's Sarah Lowry with the AmeriCorps program, and then Alec Duncan with Sitka Tribe Alaska, and Hillary Nutting with Sitka Tribe Alaska. Really excellent crew, and they put together an excellent event. It was a week ago Saturday. This is a picture of the welcome table. So there's Ben and there's Sarah welcoming people into this COVID safe, and there's kids in the background doing activities, and then there's a lot of feedback happening. They have a survey, and they've been gathering feedback. What do parents need? What do kids need? What do teachers need? What do volunteers need? So getting a lot of great information. Excellent, excellent start, and excellent group. So they have some momentum. So as a health coalition, we're able to give some modest support in the beginning, a little bit of money and helping with things like a letter of support, and we have a health networking meeting. We always put the goals first. But the thing now that these two goals need, just like all the past goals, is that wave of community support. And I mentioned the Teen Center, and I'll close with this, is that when that happened, on the planning day. It was in the fall of 2018, and it was a bunch of young people. It was Pacific High students and there were some teachers, and they said, we're going to get a teen center. It's going to be free. It's going to be a drop-in. It's going to be positive adults, and we're going to have it in a year. And I thought, that's ambitious, and that's great. I wish you luck. And I didn't think it could happen in a year, and it didn't. It happened in 10 months. So in this town, when people put their mind to it, we make things happen. And we have an opportunity to do two great things this year, to provide housing for people who for years have been living in the woods in a rainforest, and then to provide some relief and some enrichment and a program that's been proven to work to improve academic performance, to get kids off screen and get them connecting with each other, and I think as important as anything, connecting with caring adults. So I'm excited. I hope you are too. Stay tuned and then find some ways to plug in, and together we're going to make this happen. Thanks.
Thanks, Doug. Does anyone have any questions before I let you go? No? Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
You very much.
Thanks so much.
Yeah. No, I was kind of a little bit involved in that teen center one too, and I right there with Doug. I just remember thinking this is great and this is ambitious, but can we really do this? And look at 3 years later, it's still going and thriving. So thank you. All right, item 10, board member reports. Todd, would you hate me if I started with you?
That's fine. Last weekend, it was our retreat, and what was the acronym of the class that we did? The AASP. And it was my first taste of working with all you guys, and I am just super thrilled that I am where I am right now, because this is going to be a super, super great experience for me. And just anxious and excited, ready to go. So that was my weekend. So that's what we did lately. So yeah, that was me.
I have to echo what Todd said. We've had some great opportunities to work together these last few days, and I'm definitely looking forward to going up to Anchorage and representing Sitka at our ASB conference. Just on a personal note, I do have to say and echo what our admin said, just seeing the kids enjoy Halloween and enjoy all of the activities that they have had these last few weeks. It was amazing as a parent to see them that happy, and you know, we enjoyed a safe and happy Halloween. I think the kids were just so happy to see people. I think the most fun-filled part of the evening was giving out candy. So other than that, I know that for the tribal citizens, they have a community survey going on. That highlights what they would like for their strategic planning. So I urge all tribal citizens and tribal families to complete that. And I did have a meeting set up with Sitka High, but that was canceled due to family scheduling for me. So hopefully I'll have more on that next go around. So that's about it.
I'm sorry, what was you said that there's an STA survey going on I didn't catch.
Strategic planning. They are completing their 5-year strategic planning. So I actually have in my notes, I have information on that. It is online, and I just completed it. There is an incentive, so the first 300 families will get a $25 gift certificate to a local grocery store, and they have a chance to win $250. So there are incentives going on for that, and the person to talk to on that is Spruce Root. So I don't have their contact info. Actually, I do, 907-586-9251. So the more information that they have, of course, would be most helpful for us too, because they're one of our partners. So there you go. Mhm.
Yeah, thanks. The board retreat with AASB last week was great. It was nice to get the results of our community connectedness survey. That's a big data point that we use to see how we're faring, especially with our board goals in particular. So between that and getting the peaks and stuff, it's nice to know where we're at, and I think that we have fared pretty well, especially compared to unfortunately some of our neighbor communities. But I think that we're all turning the corner. I look forward to going up to AASB next week and see school board members and superintendents from all over the state, and that's always really high energy. So I'm looking forward to getting a little bit of re-energization from that. On a couple personal notes, I did get to go in the building and at Sitka High and do some parent-teacher conferences this week, and that was really cool. And I got to stop by Pacific a couple weeks ago. One of the classes was doing a presentation on the garden, and some students had cooked, and they did really, really well. I'll have to send Mandy a text or something, but yeah, it was fantastic. So it was nice to see the sun today, and it's nice to see all. Thanks.
And Dawn, can we just add that Andrew joined us, we can just say about 7 o'clock just for the record. Thanks. And Andrew, are you ready?
As ready as I'll report? Be, I guess. Yeah. Sorry for being late, everybody. Monday afternoon and evening is always a challenge, so thank you for your patience with me. Yeah, just to echo what Paul said, really enjoyed our retreat meeting this last weekend. It's such a great opportunity to, while it is a formal meeting, it's a little different vibe, and so I appreciate the time to work together as a board and get to find out our new makeup, get more comfortable with that after Todd joining us, which is great. Yeah, and looking forward to the conference this week. It's our first time, or my first time, since we didn't do it last year, so that's going to be wonderful. And yeah, just major kudos to our staff, teachers, building administrators. My kids are just really enjoying the school year, and all challenges aside, it's going very well. So didn't get a chance to meet with Pacific High again since last meeting, so that's top on my list to get in there and spend some time with them this coming month. It's November. Happy holidays, everybody.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I just kind of will echo what everyone else said. First of all, it's great to have Todd on the board. The timing was really great to have our little board retreat this last weekend, and like Andrew said, just kind of get to know everybody and know the makeup of the new board and set our goals for the next year. And I'm really excited for everyone to be able to go up to Anchorage this week. I am not able to attend because I have 2 seniors playing volleyball, and it's their regions this week, so I'm going to be a mom first and attend volleyball. And that being said, we had volleyball games the last couple of weekends, and it has been so much fun. The kids have been able to each invite 6 people to the game. So there's been, 20 times 6 people. Who's good at math? It's just really fun. The energy is really great. And just hearing all the principals talk tonight about how normal school is feeling is so exciting. And I am encouraged by that, and I'm encouraged by everything we've been able to do despite COVID. And I'm excited. I know you're probably going to give us the COVID facts, but I feel like we're about to turn a corner, and that's really, really exciting with some things that are developing, on the medical field and things. So, and I do appreciate the couple of people that testified tonight, and just appreciate the mitigations that we've had. We've had some emails this week too, just expressing thanks for that, and it's nice to feel the support and know that we're so close, hopefully. So thank you. I think that's all I have to report tonight, so we can move on to Mr. Hauser and the administrative report.
All right, thank you very much. So we're just going to go ahead and start off. You all get a chance to see the budget update. One thing I wanted to point out with the budget update is We are finally closing out the audit, and so we will have a presentation on that on Friday. So that's a good thing. We're excited to have that behind us. Were there any specific questions? Things are continuing to progress through with the budget right now? No? The thing I'm really excited to talk about is enrollment numbers. So as you can see on the enrollment chart right now, we're showing 1,138 students in the Sitka School District. But the number that really counts and matters is the number of the students that we had at the end of our October count, which is always the fourth Friday. And we ended our October count right at projection, so 1,133. And so we're really excited to have met that projection and have essentially the funding that's going to go along with that that we projected. So things get very interesting if you come up short of the count, and we did not, so we're very thankful about that. So that will be a good thing moving forward. Were there any questions on the enrollment numbers? No? All right, so then we're going to jump into my PowerPoint. I'm making the, there it is, Mr. Varon, thank you very much. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in and start again today by showcasing what's going on in our schools. And today I'm going to take a closer look at Blatchley Middle School. So Blatchley held its annual triathlon a few weeks ago. And I have to give a shout out to Mr. White, who was very nice to let me take some of those points to highlight Blatchley on, because I'm sure he wanted to talk about them, but I wanted to celebrate a couple of the things. So a few weeks ago, they had their annual triathlon. They had almost 50 students show up to participate. It was really great to see all the students come out on a Saturday morning. And I really wanted to thank Principal White, the Blatchley staff, and all the parent volunteers for making this happen. In addition to the weekend activities for students, Blatchley has been offering after-school study hall and tutoring for students, and it's not unusual to see about 20 Blatchley students Monday through Thursday, along with Sitka High School National Honor Society students, Blatchley AmeriCorps staff, and principals hanging out. As you can see, the students know how to be serious and have some fun, too, in the pictures. So I do have to say they really enjoyed that when they were taking the pictures. They all wanted to do something really fun, and I really appreciated them doing that. In addition to the weekend, and they are doing that after-school tutoring from Monday through Thursday, so we're really excited to have that opportunity to have that study hall and tutoring. In addition to weekend activities for students, Blatchley has been offering, our Sitka High School DDF Drama and Debate and Forensics competitors racked up top honors in their first meet of the year. Thanks to Shannon Hageland, who is with the Sitka Sentinel, for covering that. It was the first in-person meet for the squad since the meets went to an online format 2 years ago. And here's what one of the coaches, Christian Litton, had to say about the event. So it went really well. It was nice to be back in person, more enthusiasm and energy about performing, and since they were all in front of people. Litton also enjoyed seeing the kids interact with each other and the camaraderie along and among the competitors across the Southeast. That was nice to see. There are some friendships across different schools. There's a lot of really healthy competition, but a lot of support among some of these kids too. It's super nice to see, since we couldn't really do that last year with everything virtual. So we're really excited that DDF got a chance to go out and have that opportunity. So here are some additional photos of our students competing. We recognized our Sitka Wolves boys and girls consciously runners earlier tonight. We are so proud of their accomplishment. But swimming was in Ketchikan this weekend for regions. State swimming is this coming weekend, and our Lady Wolves volleyball team will be hosting regions in Sitka starting tomorrow. We heard a little bit about that from Sandra. We're excited to have extracurricular sports and activities back this year and to provide as many opportunities as we can and the venues allow for our Wolves fans to support our teams in person. So we're really excited about that. And some great pictures of some of our athletes that were competing in there. So I was really excited to get those and to see that taking place. So we have our regular strategic planning update. So our strategic planning action teams, comprised of parents, staff, community members, and students, have been meeting since September, with each team working on plans for one of the above strategies. We brought all of our action plan teams together last Monday to share what they've been working on. And we had a lot of fun, and we actually put together a speed dating format for our action plan teams. So where each team got 8 minutes to talk to each other. So as individuals, they got together and talked about the action plans they were developing, how there may be connections between the strategies and ways the action plans can support the other action plans during their implementation. So there were a lot of really good ideas that came from this time together, and we're really excited to have that take place. The teams will continue to meet weekly through December. By mid-December, they should have all of their action plans completed and ready to present to the original strategic planning teams for review. So the original strategic planning team will reconvene in January. So that's our plan right now. They'll reconvene in January to hear all of the action plans that were developed by the action plan teams. And then what they will do is they will go ahead and look at the plans, identify some of the strengths, the cost analysis, and decide at that point which plans to adopt. The goal is to have the final action plans ready for implementation starting in February. And so the action plan team should hopefully finish up all their action plans by December, and in January we'll meet, and by February we'll start rolling out our action plans and working on those strategies and meeting our goals. Just as Amy said, we are going to be moving on, so I do have just a few brief COVID updates. I'm really looking forward to not having to have COVID updates, but I think it is important, and I think it's important to kind of go through because I really want to take a moment to highlight this. We currently have zero, let me repeat, zero COVID-19 cases associated with our buildings. We, of course, we know that this could change tomorrow, but it's good news to celebrate today. So we're really excited about that. I really would like to take a time, again, and I know I've said it before, but I think it's important to every single time to recognize our Smart Start teams of teachers, staff, parents, and community members who worked on our mitigation plans, the parents who came out to our parent listening sessions at the beginning of the year, and Dr. Brule and Dr. Festola, who reviewed all of our mitigation plans. I'd also like to thank everyone for working together to support the mitigations that are keeping our schools open and our students in school and participating fully in all of the activities that they want to participate in. So we're really excited about that. So if you're doubting that our mitigations have helped us achieve something remarkable this year in keeping all of our schools open for full-time in-person learning for the entire first quarter, I'd like to share with you this slide from Dr. Fiona Havers, an infectious disease specialist at the CDC. She was presenting here to the FDA Independent Advisory Panel, the Center for Biologics Evaluation and Research, that weighed in on authorizing the Pfizer vaccine for those ages 5 to 11. This slide shows the COVID-19 related K-12 school closures by state from August to October 2021. So these are school closures from just this school year alone. Take a second and look how many students have been affected by school closures. Over 1 million students in just 2 months of school. There have been 272 school districts closures, 2,074 schools closed, 1,069,116 students, and nearly 69,000 teachers affected by COVID-19 related school closures this fall. I'm putting up this slide again just to show our students from before. And I'd like you to think about the over 1 million students who have been impacted by school closures from August 2nd to October 8th. And then look at what's happening in SSD. Our students are learning together and having fun. At this time, we have not had a single school closure in SSD, and our rapid testing program has helped us keep students in the classroom and participating in extracurricular activities. Remember that we only test if we have a signed permission form, which you can find on our website. Always important to make sure that I get that point out there. We also got some more positive news related to the vaccine last week, too. On Friday, the FDA cleared a low-dose Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine for children 5 to 11. The photo is of the special low-dose boxes of the vaccine, which are a different color than the adult doses. Being a former art person and music person, I always recognize colors and things like that. Can't help myself. This issue now goes to the CDC, where an advisory panel will meet tomorrow and the next day to make a recommendation on administration of the vaccine, and then it goes to the CDC director for the final decision. Providers have already begun ordering pediatric doses with the goal of having the vaccine on hand. so that if it is approved, vaccines can begin as soon as possible. Children will need 2 doses of vaccine 3 weeks apart and will be considered fully vaccinated 2 weeks after the second dose. We will have a better idea of the timeline in the coming days, but once the CDC makes the recommendation, in just a few short weeks, the first group of 5 to 11-year-olds will be fully vaccinated against the virus. I always want to make sure I point this out too. A COVID-19 vaccine is not required in SSD. So please talk to your local healthcare providers for more information on vaccines. And I did want to share a message from Public Health. They said, quote, per the data submitted to the FDA, Pfizer's vaccine is nearly 91% effective at preventing symptomatic infections in children between the ages of 5 to 11. Additionally, the vaccine was well tolerated. The data surrounding the vaccine for children 5 to 11 is really promising, but until the vaccine is approved, children who are unvaccinated should continue to wear a mask in public spaces and around people they do not live with. So students have been wearing masks in SSD for over a year and a half without issues. To suddenly throw out our mitigations now, right before the eve of parents who wish to being able to vaccinate their students, would really not make sense. It would be premature and counterproductive. COVID-19 is one of the top 10 causes of death in children ages 5 to 11 during this time, according to the FDA. And multi-system inflammatory syndrome, MIS-C, is most frequent among children of that age group, according to the CDC. This is why the input from public health and local physicians have been so important and will continue to be important in our mitigation plans in SSD. But we have a path forward, and we have since the beginning. Masks were never forever in SSD, but for the time being. If you've been attending our board meetings, which I know you all have been, reading my emails or listening to the updates to the EOC meetings or reading reports about SSD in the Sentinel, you have heard me say repeatedly, masks aren't forever, just for right now. I say that consistently. I've been saying that consistently really since the beginning of the school year. In an email just last week, I said that new CDC guidance for schools is expected perhaps as early as December. Also in the December timeframe, we might have our first group of fully vaccinated students ages 5 to 11, pending CDC approval, all in SSD who will finally have the opportunity to be vaccinated. Of course, this timing depends on the CDC's decision this week and on the availability of the vaccine. But with vaccines and the new guidance coming our way, we're not going to suddenly turn around and start going in the opposite direction toward school closures, large number of quarantines, and COVID-19 cases that districts without our mitigations have. We're going to stay strong and keep going forward. I'd like to read something from Dr. Lena Wen, emergency physician and professor of health policy and management at the George Washington University Milken Institute School of Public Health. She said, quote, we can think of all the protective measures as layers. Those of you who are readers of my emails know we talked about the concept a lot at the beginning of this year. I use the analogy of layers of fencing. Dr. Wen talks about layers of clothing. She says, quote, just like you wear layers when it's cold outside, the colder it is, the more you have to wear to stay warm. If there's a lot of virus in the community, the risk is high, and we need a lot of layers of protection. If the level of virus is low, we need fewer layers. The vaccine is the best layer we have, end quote. We're going to continue to monitor the situation and working with public health and our local physicians as we keep moving forward, and we will adjust our layers accordingly. And so that wraps up my COVID-19 report. There are so many other good things going on in our schools right now with students being back to full time. I don't really want COVID to overshadow a lot of those positive things. So let's turn our attention to the business of education. And I'd like to welcome Carrie Sagel and Lauren Havens from AASB. They're going to provide us with a snapshot of the School Climate and Connectedness Survey from last year.
Hi, my name is Carrie Sagel. I work in community and family engagement for the school district under the STEPS grant. On Zoom, I'm joined by Lauren Havens, who works for the Alaska Association of School Boards as their data and evaluation coordinator. What is the School Climate and Connectedness Survey? It is a yearly survey of districts, students, staff, and families sponsored by the AASB, and it provides data and direction for decision-making regarding school climate. There are many participating districts in the state. The survey period is usually January through March, or last year, January through April, for completion of the 3 surveys, the one for students, the one for families, the ones for staff. Why bother? We know that a good school climate leads to improved positive outcomes for students, like student achievement, and reduced negative outcomes for students like school violence. So it's the real reason why we would survey and be concerned about climate. You can see up there some of the topics in the 3 to 5 surveys. There's a great deal of overlap, but they're crafted for each of the three, the families, the staff, and the students. And I have here a copy of the student age 6 to 12 survey. They're asked questions such as, there's at least one adult at this school whom I feel comfortable talking about things that are bothering me. I can name at least 5 adults who really care about me. Is there a language other than English spoken in your home? Another question might be something like, my teachers are fair, my teachers are respectful. So those are the sorts of questions that students are asked in the survey. There's a great deal of overlap, and one thing that we've noticed over the years is the staff always has very much higher rating, positive rating. The next highest raters are family, then it would be ages grades 3 to 5, and then when you get to the students grades 6 to 12, they get a little more critical or realistic, maybe, in their ratings. So in the next slide, one thing that we need to be cautious about is whose voice is heard in the SCCS survey, and I've been responsible for the family survey for the last 4 years, and this is the first time I looked at this particular breakdown, and it's going to have me looking at the last 3 years. But as part of the survey, parents are asked, or family members are asked, what groups describe you best, and it's an ethnicity question. And here we had 65% of our respondents on the survey were white. And if I went to TJ Agnew, who is our database manager, and asked him, well, what is the incidence of white students in the school? And it's 49.5%. So you could see perhaps in this survey that the voices of white families are overrepresented. If you count Native families up here, you have 8% plus 2 or more races, another 11%, 19%, and it should more be at a 33% rate. There are a couple of reasons this may have happened this year. Is Pacific High typically does this survey during parent-teacher conferences, not online like they were done this year. So they had a low response rate. They typically have a much higher. Almost all the families participate, so that might be one reason that this isn't totally representative. But then if we go to the next slide and see the student survey, we can see that white students accounted for 46% of the respondents, which is much closer to that 49.5 that they represent in the school. And if you add up Alaska Native, 14% plus 2 or more races, including Alaska Native, you get 30%, which is much closer to that 33%. Next slide, just what it shows you is how many respondents took the survey. So we had 189 third through fifth graders, 493 sixth through 12th graders. They were either online or in person at school when they took the test, depending upon the school. 96 staff and 375 families at 6 schools. We include Wuching as one of the schools that was for the first time separated out this year so that we could get data just for that school. This is the interesting thing I found in the survey. I call it the COVID green effect. Normally in a year, green indicates, and the upward arrow indicates positive movement in that area, no matter how the question is posed, whether it's posed negatively or positively. You want to see increase and high numbers. Overall, we had just lots of increases, lots of huge increases, like 15 is an enormous increase. And this was true again, mainly with staff, with parents, and kids grades 3 to 5, but even amongst the more critical or realistic 6th through 12th graders, there were more, their results were a little more compressed. You didn't see a lot of 20% increase, but there were more positive growth than negative decline. So even there, that trend sort of continued. One thing that you should note about this that might help explain is this was taken exactly pretty much 1 year after COVID hit. So schools were back in session, kids were back in the classroom. Baranoff had been in session for almost the entire school year. And if you look at the next slide, this what you won't see if you go onto the website. This is something for the people who give the test to look at. These are parents' voices, and I took out a few of them that might explain this COVID effect. I'll read the first one. When my child was in remote learning last semester, I would have answered these questions way different. Thank you. So this perhaps reflects just parents' relief and happiness in having their kids back at school. It possibly also just relates to what their kids experience either in distance or in face-to-face. Let's see what else. I'll show you now some examples of how you actually see the data when you go into the survey. The one way that you can look at the data is it shows a timeline of the last many years. Here the staff and students were asked how often they observed students engage in delinquent behaviors at school within the last 12 months. And when I first saw this, I was cynical, and I thought, well, if the kids were distant and remote, they didn't witness any negative behavior. So of course the score went up. Even though you're asking a negative question, you want to see the score go up because they're looking at the responses they want to get. But then Mr. Hauser sort of reminded me that the negative behaviors occur online, and kids get in trouble even when they're 6 feet apart. So that maybe this is realistic, but possibly it's also an effect of COVID. One of the ways that that we use the data is setting board priorities. The 2021 board priorities had that the board wanted to see increases in the areas of respectful climate, school safety, student involvement, and parent involvement. And the board went over these Friday evening, and in the next slide you can take a look at one area of student safety. These were questions asked of the students. Again, you see kind of that green effect where you have fairly substantial green increases, and you just have one decrease in positive responses. The questions were, I feel safe at school, I feel safe traveling to and from school, this school is being ruined by bullies, and even though it goes up by 8, that's a good thing because it means that there are fewer bullies. And then 93% responded in the way we'd want them to, that this school is badly affected by crime and violence in the community. 93% believe that, no, that's not a true statement. Now, when you click into these, and you won't see the example, you can get additional information about the survey. You can get information about that I feel safe at school might only be one of the 4 or 5 questions they asked them. You can get some historical data. You can get information about how did girls answer differently from boys. This is one last way here that information is portrayed in the survey, is that here is where you can disaggregate some of the information. So for the first time in last year's survey, they did not only ask, did the respondent identify as male or female? There were 2 additional choices. I identify in another way. I prefer not to answer. And this is something that Lauren Havens picked up while she was looking over the survey. Is the question is, the categories are caring adults, community support, cultural connectedness, and many categories. And then there's this graph that sort of shows where there's an overall positive response, and that will be shown as a green or a slightly green, or if it's 0, a neutral color. And then if the responses are as we would not want them to be, they're going to show up as sort of tangerine to kind of a bright orange. And in this graph, it's a startling difference between those who identify as male and female being generally positive about all the questions at the top, and then those students who don't want to identify or identify in another way, showing that there's something about the school climate that is not meeting their needs. See? And how to access the SCCS survey, you go to the front page of the Sitka School District, which is www.sitkaschools.org. And if you go down to the lower right-hand side, you'll see the School Climate and Connectedness Survey, and choose the link to the survey results. And you really just have to start playing around and clicking into things. And if anybody wants to get a hold of me and ask some questions, my phone number is 752-READ. It's easy to remember, and I would be happy to help you out with some of the results. Any questions at all? Thank you.
Sorry. One quick question. Thank you for going over this for the benefit of the public and for spending the time you did with us this weekend. It was really beneficial, and having Lauren there too. I noticed that link where it says how to read the survey report is broken. So I don't know if there any information or data that could be helpful to people. It says this page has moved if you click on that.
I'll just make sure that we get the new link and that it's corrected.
Because I will say you're right. You just have to go in, and when I first started looking at this data, it's a little overwhelming, and you're not quite sure what you're looking at until you start clicking through different things. So if there is some helpful information, that would be great to see that link to the page.
So you're saying the link to the results are there, but the link to how to interpret needs to be fixed.
Yeah, when you click on that, how to read the survey, and it just goes to this page has moved. So whoever can look at that would be helpful.
We will take a look at that tomorrow and see if we can get that fixed.
Don't mean to blast anyone in public, but it just reminded me.
Where's
so thank
Ian?
you so much.
Where's Ian? I take that back. Ian's amazing. So thank you, Carrie, very much for doing that presentation. Just a couple of last-minute announcements. Parent-teacher conferences, like we heard, are taking place this week. If you haven't scheduled a time to meet with your students' teachers, please email and call the school. And with that concludes my report. Are there any questions?
I just wanted to make a comment, just because it's something that has come up with a lot of discussions that I've had with parents on the whole COVID thing. Sorry, I'm going to bring it back up. Sure. But one thing I don't think a lot of people realize is that even if we're not getting a lot of COVID spread amongst students in our schools, that if we have spread amongst staff, we're very shorthanded with our substitute teachers. And so if we have too many staff members out at any one time, schools could be closed simply for the reason of not having enough staff to keep them open.
That is correct, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And I just wanted to point that out for anyone who's listening, that's a huge concern. And obviously we want to keep schools open. So just wanted to mention that. But anyone else have any questions? All right, well, thank you so much. All right, so moving on, does anyone need to take a 5-minute break, or are we good? These next few shouldn't take too long, so we're good? Okay. All right, item 12A, approval of board policy 0100. If we can get a motion for that.
I move to approve BP 0100 mission statement and first reading.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve Board Policy 0100, Mission Statement, and First Reading. Is there any public comment to the motion? All right, any board comments or questions? We all just tired? Just kidding.
Sure, I'll just speak to this real quick, and the next couple of policies are related to our strategic planning results, and I was there for those main sessions, and I know we've talked about the mission statement a little bit, but I was really impressed and really proud to see the group that worked on these, and breaking into smaller groups and then sharing with the larger group. And just a lot of excitement generated, especially over this mission statement. There was just a really great mix of people. I've said this before, but just a great representation of the community at all of the strategic planning. And but the mission statement especially really just put a lot of wind in everybody's sails. And I just think it's an exciting direction to be moving in. So I'm excited to be officially approving the work that was done last year on this, in the spring, I guess it was, that we did. It all runs together, as you guys know. So yeah, that's my comment.
Yeah. Thank you, Andrew. Yeah, and that's good. A little historical context on this. It was, I believe, in April, end of April, that this, the whole process began, and the team came up with this mission statement. And as you can see from the policy, it hasn't been updated in almost 20 years. So it's nice to have an update to it, and have it go along with our strategic planning process. So kudos to everyone that was involved in this process. I love this statement. So. Oh, were you going to say something, Blossom? Sorry. I thought you were touching your mic, so. Okay, I forget. We don't have to do a roll call vote on this, do we? Because, okay. So the motion on the table is to approve Board Policy 0100, mission statement in first reading. Is there any opposition to the motion? All right, seeing none, motion passes. Next one.
I move to approve BP 0110 belief statements in first reading.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve Board Policy 0110 belief statements in first reading. Is there any public comment to the motion? Any board comments, questions? This one also came out of the same strategic planning workshop. I don't know what to call it. Yeah.
Sure, I'll give. So these were, if memory serves me correctly, these beliefs were come up with in small groups, and John, in leading it, gave veto power to anyone in the room on any of the belief statements. So as the belief statements would come up, they would all get posted, and if there was one that someone thought, you know what, I have a question about that, or I'm not sure that I fully believe that, then we broke it down and talked about it, adjusted wording to where everyone in the room did agree with the belief, or could say that I personally believe that. So this was a well-discussed, vetted list of belief statements to be enacted as a policy.
I'm curious, just because I wasn't there and I didn't participate, did it start with the original set of belief statements, or was it all developed from scratch?
I believe it was we started from scratch. We had good history, especially with everything. With the mission statement, here was what our mission statement was in 1996. Here's what it was in 2002. Do we want to keep this? Do we want to edit it, start from scratch? And so the belief statements, we all had access to all of those as well. So they were kind of a starting spot, but then each group just sort of, we started throwing things out. So people could choose from past belief statements if we wanted to roll it over. So it was from scratch, but with good context and background.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right, so the motion on the table is to approve Board Policy 0110, belief statements in first reading. Is there any opposition to the motion? All right, seeing none, motion passes. Next one.
I move to approve BP 310 action plan strategies in first reading.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve Board Policy 0310 action plan strategies in first reading. Is there any public comment to the motion? Any board comments, questions? You want to give a little history on this one, since you're on a roll?
I guess. So again, these were the room was divided into 6 groups, I think, and we. How did we come up with these? It was like on the second day, or the second week. I can't remember. But yeah, again, they were discussed by the entire group. We had some. I believe it said we started with strategies as small groups. Then they all got put up. We realized that some of them could be kind of combined or change the wording and then marry 2 together. And then we were able as a room to discuss, what's practical and what's the end goal of all of these strategies. And then John was always careful to don't get too far ahead, save that for the action plan committees and breaking down how the process was going to go, which is what we're currently doing in small groups, or what people are currently doing in small groups. So again, the whole room gave a lot of buy-in to the presented strategies, and here they are.
Good. Thank you. I really appreciate you going and being able to give us the insight on this. So thank you very much. All right. So the motion on the table is to approve Board Policy 0310, Action Plan Strategies, and first reading. Is there any opposition to the motion? All right. Seeing none, motion passes. And then the last one is just a review of 1312E. Okay, Todd, what does E stand for? I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Exhibit or example or example.
Oh, it is example, isn't it?
Well,
I was thinking exhibit myself.
She said that's how she remembers it. It's like an example, but I think the technical term is exhibit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And I don't know, Frank, do you want to give
Just briefly, we at the last board meeting had gone through and updated the board policy that spoke to concerns and complaints, and this is just the exhibit that is the diagram that is online to help families and community members go through the process of having any concerns or complaints. And it's just one of those exhibits that we have to help in the process, and they can fill it out and submit it to the district if they have any concerns.
Great, thank you. Thanks for putting that together, too. It's very easy to follow and good. So, yeah, and we're just reviewing it. So does anyone have any questions about this? No? All right.
No, but I love the flow chart.
I know, right? It makes it very easy to follow. All right. So that is the end of new business. We don't have any correspondence, correct? No correspondence or information tonight. So then if we can have a motion to move into executive session.
I move to go into executive session in accordance with and under the provision of AS 44.62.310C24, the immediate knowledge of which would clearly have an adverse effect upon the finances of the district. The matter to be discussed is Sitka Education Association negotiations. Mr. Hauser and Ms. Gluth are invited.
Second.
All right, so it's been moved and seconded to go into executive session in accordance with and under the provisions of AS 44.62.310C24, the immediate knowledge of which would clearly have an adverse effect upon the finances of the district. The matter to be discussed is Sitka Education Association negotiations. Mr. Hauser and Ms. Gluth are invited. Is there any public comment to the motion?
Good evening, Mike Vieira. I'm serving as the president of the Sitka Education Association this year. We are in the process of negotiating with you, so just from our point of view, I as president sit outside of our negotiation team, so I've appointed the team and they are the team, but I sit outside of that so that I'm available to communicate with you without influencing the negotiation discussions in any way. So I am always available to you for any questions that you might want to answer or clarify, to give you some of our kind of bigger picture things without getting specific on what's actually going on in negotiations. So please just take that under consideration as you deal with this issue. So thank you very much. It's been a good opening process, lots of good communication so far, so we're encouraged by the discussion so far.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you very much. Any other public comment? All right. Any board comment? Are there any objections to the motion? All right, motion passes, and we will go into executive session at 7:43 p.m.